Do you want to go Celtics Sixers? You want to talk about Celtics Sixers?
Yeah, we could do that a little bit. Do you think we learned anything about the Sixers in the first round other than Joel Embiid can't stay healthy?
My whole thing is this is a series where I think you read it. I saw people like bringing up the playoff track record between the Celtics over the last 3 years. I don't care what it was when Ben Simmons was. I'm sorry, I can't bring myself to care what it was when Ben Simmons was on the team. I do think it's fair to look at the Siri. I understand. That's all that matters. Joel Embiid's health is just the biggest overarching question in this. Well, also James Harden's health. He's dealing with Achilles stuff. And if he's going to shoot poorly from 2 or not get to the foul line, that warps what Philly's going to do. I'm aside from that. And there's nothing to add to the Joel Embiid injury. They don't know if he's going to be ready. I would hazard that they try and play him. But if he's going to be not even close to 90% or whatever it is, it's just Philly's fucked. Like they're fucked.
Right. Yeah. I think my takeaway from the first round is I didn't really learn anything about the Sixers because the Nets played a really weird, and I think the correct defense against him, which is just 2 guys on him all the time, get it out of his hands. And Tyrese Maxey, if you're going to make half your threes in the series, which he did, the Sixers are going to win. So the Celtics won't be quite as, won't have to sell out quite as ridiculously to handle Embiid. Although you're going to just devote all your attention to him anyway. The strategy won't change that much. It just won't be quite as extreme. But I also don't think we learned a lot about Boston because the good version of them, got up 2-0, and then the bad version of them, the offense stagnated, and you let a not very good Hawks team turn it into a series. Sort of. I don't think anyone really believed the Hawks were going to win that series, but
I was rooting so hard for Game 7. You have no idea.
Well, I love chaos. And that was on the table. I mean, it was a tie game until Jaylen Brown hit. The Celtics hit 3 threes in a row very late in that game last night to, put it away. So it was in doubt for 46 minutes or whatever it was of Game 6. So, and so having not learned anything about either of these teams, I go back to like what I would have thought at the outset of the playoffs, which is that Boston is just a little bit better. It can play different ways. It's not as, the Embiid thing, we can't just not act like it's, it's the biggest angle of maybe any second round playoff series is just how healthy is he and can he be dominant? And if healthy, can he finally put together like a really great playoff series against a great team in, beyond the first round? Like that, we haven't really seen that, or certainly we've never seen him string together multiples of those. So I go Celtics just because I think they were the better team during the year. They actually have shown us they can make a finals. They can play a lot more different styles. They're deeper. Their personnel allows them to adjust, after, plan A doesn't work in game 1, hypothetically. Whereas the Sixers kind of just, it's Embiid. And then depending on what the Celtics do to defend him, either he goes for huge numbers or you're relying on James Harden to create shots for himself, which he's not great at anymore, or someone like Maxey to take over and be clearly the team's second best player. I don't know if I believe that can happen again. So I'm not sure I'm ready to make a pick yet, unless you have one in hand. But I feel better about the Celtics, just even independent of the Embiid injury, which changes everything. I feel better about Boston.
The two, if we learned anything about the Sixers or Embiid, it was more of a reinforcement that he is just not the same player if you're going to double him. He will make better. Even there are games where he was kind of limited on a shot opportunity. He was just making the right reads. And if you trust your teammates to make shots out of that, that's huge. And so that does bode well for the Sixers if he's relatively healthy. What I find fascinating is we didn't see it enough in the regular season because RW3 was hurt. But like some of the smaller lineups for Boston gave Philly a lot of trouble. Their current starting lineup played twice against the Sixers and had like a plus 37.5 net rating. I think the natural inclination, if everyone's healthy, is no, you give Horford the Embiid assignment and you have RW3 on the court to like muck up everything else around the basket and pitch in there. I'm just curious as to whether they go that route because of one, just how fucking good Derek White is at this point. And maybe at that point you're pulling Marcus Smart, but I do think you might need him. He's better at navigating tighter spaces within the pick and roll on ball. I'm just curious to see if there's like a tug of war there. I also want to see, like, I feel like Tyrese Maxey, you mentioned if he's hitting his threes, like they might need him to create stuff because of just Boston's defensive solutions where it's they'll throw bodies or a body at Embiid and then they still have Marcus Smart or Derek White or Jaylen Brown to go after James Harden. And then if he's on Harden, Maxey's going to match up with Derek White or Smart would probably be like, is Jaylen Brown going to get that aside? I would think it's Smart, or if they stick with their current starting lineup, it would be Smart or Derek White's going to line up against him most of the time. And so then all of a sudden, does that trickle down like, oh shit, like we need Tobias Harris to do things offensively here? I think the Sixers, if Embiid's healthy, are going to have to shorten their rotation even more because Niang can't play against this team. I just don't think he can. And Brian Toporek wrote about this for Forbes, did a great job of breaking down the whole series, but that was like one of the bigger pivot points too. So those are just kind of my stray thoughts. And I do wonder how the Sixers are going to then in turn match up with Boston offensively. I don't think, Philly's going to play drop because it's Embiid. And I don't, is that the worst thing in the world given Boston is, for the most part, accurate on its jumpers, but there's variability in whether do you bet on surviving the waves or do you try and be more aggressive? Let's bring Embiid up more and try and disrupt more consistently. I might actually prefer the former, which is, I think, weird and maybe inaccurate because I skew towards being more aggressive in these situations and I'm just arguing in favor of conservatism. I think I'm wondering if I'm being influenced by, I don't know what Joel Embiid's knee is like right now. It's like, I don't want to task him with having to be more aggressive and coming up high and switching and all that.
Is there a better person for Robert Williams to hang out on and destroy the Sixers offense than PJ Tucker? Like Tucker's 3 for 15 against the Nets from deep, has not, is someone that I think if you're the Celtics, you say, PJ Tucker, if you would like to if you want to do the Grant Williams thing and shoot 17 threes in a game, like he did in the last postseason, I forget which game that was, have at it. You can shoot as many open threes as you want. The other thing is Williams, it's not like PJ Tucker is just like cemented in the corners. So Williams is, and if he's moving anywhere, he's not moving fast. So Williams as the rover could just not have a more choice matchup, I think, because even if he overextends or he's too aggressive coming in to clean up messes, like who cares? The Celtics would love for Tucker to for his usage rate to be above like one of the lowest usage players of all time. You would love it for him to, get up to like 15% usage, even just like take as many shots as you want, because that means Embiid's not taking shots. It means nobody's drawing fouls. It means the Sixers are doing maybe the last thing they want to do on an offensive possession. So I think but you know what? We talk about Embiid's health being a factor. Are we ever sure Robert Williams is going to be healthy for multiple games in a row? Like I don't
know which game it was, but the Celtics brought in Blake Griffin and the game wasn't decided. And I was like, is RW3 okay? And he ended up playing after that, but I was just like,
It's always your first thought. I think it's you talking about the Embiid injury specifically with respect to he's just, he's not going to be up to the level of any screens. And that's going to it's going to make the Celtics into are you making your threes or not? Or are you making your pull-up jumpers or not offense? I think at least that means the Celtics will get a clean look more often than not if they just, attack, pull up behind the arc or take, step in and take jumpers. Whereas I think it's going to be easier for the Celtics to make it so the Sixers, if they get clean looks, it'll be by guys they probably would prefer not be shooting them, or, it wouldn't be their first, second, third choice. So yeah. You want to predict this one? You got any more on?
I feel like we saw so much of them during the regular season that is very clear, or that we understand how they're going to play each other. My biggest question is just sort of like, what lineups does Boston skew towards in this one? And then there's the injuries make this. I just very quickly more concerned about Joel Embiid's knee or the James Harden experience right now.
I mean, I think if you get to a point in this series where it really matters whether James Harden is going to choke or not, the Sixers have sort of already lost, because that means that Embiid. So I'm way more concerned about Embiid's knee. That's priority one for sure.
I want to go Celtics in 5. I'm going to give the Sixers 2. Joel Embiid's knee is just making me wildly uneasy at this point. And I think the Celtics kind of understand. I mean, I guess I say they understand, but they fucked around in game 6 after fucking around in game 5 against the Hawks. And that's also why I'm going to give the Sixers another 2 games, but they're the deeper team. They do have more optionality on the roster. And I ultimately don't think, even if Embiid is cooking, and look, he scored, didn't he drop 52 against his team or whatever? Mm-hmm. Even if he's destroying them, they have so many answers for everybody else on Philly's roster that even if James Harden's playing well, it's just they can handle it. And so I'm going Celtics in 6. I hope this series goes 7 though, because fans like in the buildings really seem to get up for this matchup. And I could just, the trash talking element here between Smart and Embiid could just be generational. And so I'm rooting for 7 games.
I'm going to go Celtics in 6 also. There is a chance that this is 4 or 5 though, just if Embiid isn't like an MVP caliber guy, because I don't think the Sixers have enough sort of good fallback options that you can count on winning you more than a game. So not controversial. If the best player on the lower seed is not healthy, the higher seed's going to win pretty easily.